You're about to listen to an audio podcast. The footage in this video is only intended to illustrate some of the things we discuss throughout the show. Enjoy!
Hey Steve, how was your holiday vacation?
Oh, pretty good, Dave. I got myself one of those Oculus Quest 2.
Trademark.
That's cool. I've heard those are fun for the whole family.
Yes, and the pass-through feature is great too. It lets me see everything that's happening around me so I don't get robbed while I'm playing.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, the only problem is that we don't know what to play on it.
Oh, that's too bad. Have you tried... Wait, do you hear that? It sounds like theme music.
What the? Oh my god. I don't know how, but they found me. Dave, you gotta get out of here.
Wait, Doc, who found you? The Libyans?
No! The head-mounted destinations, boys! Hello, welcome, and Happy New Year's from Head-Mounted Destinations, a podcast about VR and VR game development. We provide our perspective as developers and provide a peek behind the curtain for people interested in how VR games are made. That's you, dear listener. I'm your friendly neighborhood game designer, Carlos, and with me today is my great co-host,
Matt, who is a gameplay programmer. That's me.
And today we're going to tell you what Oculus Quest games are worth checking out as of end of 2020.
Yep, maybe you got a headset for Christmas, or, you just splurged. There's a lot of gifting going on. At least, personally, I've been seeing questions where people have been asking, what games are good for the Quest? I got this Quest. We got Beat Saber. Beat Saber's fun, but, what else is good? And so we're going to fill that hole in your life. We're going to give you some spicy recommendations, things that maybe are a little bit off the beaten track. Obviously, the library of games that are worth playing is not humongous, but there's more games out there than people might realize. And so we want to give our recommendations for things that we think are solid picks, worth picking up for anyone who's looking for stuff to play on their Quest or Quest 2.
So, without further ado, we're pretty much going to get straight into our list of games. We're going to just say what the title of the game is and a little bit as to why we recommend it. And if that lines up with what you're looking into, dear listener, then we can, maybe get your thoughts on the game later on by talking in the subreddit thread for this episode and telling us which games you picked up or which games you recommend to other players.
If you go ahead and look at the list of top apps on the Oculus Store, there's the obvious ones that stick out at the top, Beat Saber, Super Hot, Vacation Simulator. Pretty much everyone's heard of these. They're good. Anything that's right on the top of the list, go ahead and pick it up. It's going to be some of the first things that you're exposed to. But if you've played those and you're looking for more, we've got a couple recommendations, and we're going to try to sort them based on what kind of experience you're looking at. So to start off, games that are good for people who are new to VR or are particularly sensitive to motion sickness, just looking to dip your toes into the water casually, here are some options.
To kick off our intro to VR options, I've suggested the free-to-play game Bait. It is a fishing game. It is free to start, mostly free to play. I think there's a little expansion that you could pay money to get. You have a couple of environments you can go to. You simply cast your line out, catch different goofy looking fish and turn them in for money and get upgrades. Very good starter content. It keeps you sitting, gives you a good tranquil area, and has a fun mechanic with fun visuals that you can keep coming back to later on. It also works on a plane.
For another tranquil game, I've suggested Virtual Reality, which actually has a little bit of meat on it. It has a story, but the interaction mechanics with the world are simple, and it can be played sitting and has teleport for low motion sickness. But the writing's pretty good, has some cool visual moments and some good humor. If you're looking for something a little bit like accounting, but a little bit more serious on the Quest, Virtual Reality is a good pick.
And something I think we both called out on our list was Racket NX. This is a maybe kind of a mix between racquetball / tennis and pinball. So it's very arcadey. You have this 360 dome around you, so it makes good use of the wireless VR capabilities. And you just keep smacking a ball that keeps magnetically getting pulled back to you. You smack it against a wall with different panels, different bumpers, and pinball things for most points. And it also provides like a fairly good workout after a while. Like it gets the blood pumping.
Yeah, great use of 360. Can be played for just a short session or played for longer. Doesn't have any motion sickness potential. Has co-op, or I guess versus.
It has gotten multiple updates in the past, most recently being that co-op update you just mentioned, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good note. Developers might continue updating it.
It's a game I keep coming back to.
Absolutely, yeah, a game to keep returning to. So, moving past Racket NX, one game I heavily recommend is Dance Central. For anyone familiar with the Dance Central series, this is the latest entry in the series on the Oculus headsets. It's really fun. I've played it for many hours. I've sweated through at least 4 shirts in my time playing Dance Central. I dig it a lot. It's fun playing it in the headset. It reminds me every time that I need to buy another face mask to swap in. The soundtrack is good. The characters are fun. I really like what they do with the cell phone and how that controls a lot of the stuff. So yeah, would recommend it. It really nails the feel of being like the center of attention on the dance floor.
Next up, I think you put this in, but Tetris Effect. If you're a fan of Tetris, this is one to pick up. I will say, has a little bit of potential for motion sickness, and it doesn't really ground you anywhere, so it could potentially feel weird if you're a total novice to VR, but it's very trippy, and like the visuals are intense.
I don't know if I fully agree with the visuals being intense and stuff. That's an interesting, I find that to be an interesting take. Like, to me, Tetris Effect was way more of like, one, absolutely, like, if you like Tetris, get this game. But two, it was like just such a awesomely tranquil yet stimulating experience for me. Like, I guess I don't mind too much, like, floating in the middle of a black void with like whatever neato visuals in front of me. But soundtrack's great. Gameplay is like classic Tetris greatness, and just the tranquilityness of it is like it just feels so good. Also, this game works on a plane as well.
That's a great point. Is picking up games that you can play in small confined spaces during road trips or plane trips. Super good use of VR that most people don't think of initially.
Yep. So this next game, I actually played so much on my first night getting it that I gave myself some sort of neck strain or neck injury. This is called Raccoon Lagoon, and it is very much a Animal Crossing / Stardew Valley type game where you're marooned on some island and some cast of animal characters that are all like chibi animals, like half your size. They get marooned on that island as well, and you need to collect things around the island and perform tasks in order to barter with these animal characters in order to either help them set up their homes or help you gain new upgrades. And so this game asks you to like chop down trees, mine rocks, I think paint in some places, like planting fruit and vegetables, and I think catching animals or something like that. It's a really fun, really wholesome game. Another tranquil thing to play. My only caveat would be to just be very aware of like your neck, of your viewing angle when you're playing, because the UI, at least during my experience, the UI and the character heights were kind of like a little too low, and that's what like made me hurt my neck after prolonged play. But the game was tranquil enough and like entertaining enough with new things coming like over and over to keep me playing longer than I think like 4 hours for my first play session on that one. So that was great.
If you're looking for something that has a little bit of a story, has sort of a linear playthrough, and is a puzzle game, Shadowpoint is one to pick up. It'll be good for someone who is new to VR. It's not super intimidating. It's a puzzle game that's based on light and shadow. Has a little bit of a magical realism vibe to it in terms of the story and the setting. That it's a solid pick. And then finally, on this list of things that are good for people who are trying to dip their toes in, I've got 2 rhythm games: OhShape, which is OH shape, all one word, I think with an exclamation point in it, and AUDICA, which is from the people who did Rock Band.
If I recall correctly, OhShape is the hole-in-the-wall game, right? Similar to the game show where people got to like pose their body to the cutout in the wall.
Yep. So it's based around that concept of, you got to make a T shape or an A shape or like lean your body to one side. And it's set to music tracks. So it's an interesting take on that like idea of rhythm games. And it engages your full body, a lot like Dance Central, actually. And then AUDICA is the other end of the spectrum where you have 2 guns and you have to like point at targets and move them correctly. It's like Beat Saber,
but with guns.
Yeah, some sort of gun target play. So people, I think, don't look very hard at AUDICA, but I've come back to it a number of times, and once you get into the harder levels, it's actually pretty engaging.
I think just a quick note on these music rhythm games, not specifically OhShape and AUDICA, but just on all the VR music rhythm games in general, not a lot of them have like very recognizable music, which I think is just an inherent problem of the state of the genre currently.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the console, music rhythm games, they are usually backed with enough money to like, or they're partially owned by the same daddy that owns the other record labels, so they get access to that music.
Mm-hmm.
But Beat Saber has this problem. AUDICA, I think, has a similar problem. OhShape, I have no clue what the music is, but like a lot of music I've seen in VR games is just like modern day techno stuff by like people I don't know.
Yeah.
And take that as you will. Still fun games by all means. I still remember $100 bills from Beat Saber. That's the one. That's for some reason that's the one I always remember.
Oh, that's my least favorite track from that original set.
I don't particularly like playing the track. There was another one. There was another song that was like better. I don't know. As a song, I kind of like $100 bills, but it's also whatever. So moving on to a category we are calling time wasters. These are apps that are good to jump in, spend some time to kind of zen out or whatever, and then, leave and occasionally come back to. So, our first time waster is Epic Roller Coasters. This is a free app, at least free to start, similar to Bait. It has DLC that can be paid for. It's a roller coaster game, first person. They seat you in the cart. You get like 1 or 2 carts for free. You get like 2 tracks for free, and you can even have a companion NPC sit next to you in the roller coaster cart. And they even have like a time trial mode where you can control the speed of the roller coaster to see how fast you can go through without actually derailing yourself. This also works on a plane, so I actually have spent multiple like east to west coast flights just like time trialing on roller coasters while in flight.
Do not download this game if you are at all susceptible to motion sickness. Do not download this app if you are at all susceptible to motion sickness. If you want to test whether or not you have an iron stomach, I guess download this app. But
yes, actually, I would recommend that. If you want to see how motion sick susceptible you are, try this app. They do have motion sickness options. Like they have a helmet and a visor that lower your field of view. But again, yeah, this is a roller coaster, so it is definitely going to test that equilibrium in you. So if you want to see how far you can push it, go ahead and play Epic Roller Coasters. I personally play without any of the comfort settings on, and I straight derail myself like whenever I want.
If that doesn't sound like your speed, how about a coloring book in 3D? Whoa. Color Space. It's a game where you are placed into, or an app where you are placed into an environment, and you have a color palette and you can fill in the environment just like a coloring book, but it's actual stuff in front of you and the color spills across the environment, and it's It's a very zen out experience.
If you're at all familiar, listener, with games that have like, those black and white fields, and then you as the hero bring color to them by like reclaiming the land, it's very much that type of moment, except you're able to just take it at your own pace and fill in that picture. Very, very cool. Some of the different environments include abstract, like cityscapes, natural environments, and then animals or like spaceships. So yeah, just cool product. I sometimes goes on sale. Definitely worth picking up.
Which, by the way, if that sort of thing piques your fancy, there are other art apps available. We're not going to talk about them, but look into that. Things where you can paint and sculpt in 3D all around you. All right, moving on. We're going to talk about a couple of social games which are free, but just be warned that it can be very intimidating to drop into a social space in VR if you don't know what you're heading into.
So VR Chat is a free-to-play social app/game. It is a network of user-created worlds that you can visit and chat with people all around the globe who have various anonymous avatars. And it's pretty much a good time if you are just looking for the purely social, engaging with people experience. There are some mini games in there, but that probably won't be your primary form of enjoyment.
If you're looking for something that is maybe a little more kid-friendly or has a little bit more meat on the activities to do with people, you can try out Rec Room. It has all sorts of activities, from a battle royale mode to paintball to dodgeball to little quests that you go on where you're playing a PvE co-op shooting game. It has lots of stuff, a lot of kids in there, sort of a cartoony style, free, same as VR Chat. So that's something to try out, especially if you have friends that you want to play with and you're just looking for something easy and free.
Yep. And on the topic of easy, free, and good with friends, we round out our social list with PokerStars VR. PokerStars VR is a game where you can play various gambling mini games. It's basically a virtual reality casino. It's an actual casino. You walk around. You can get like blackjack tables, poker tables. These are all like instanced rooms with these like tables. Like I think roulette's in there potentially. Slot machines were added recently. It gets regular updates. It's all free to play. I think there are cosmetics that you could like spend money on. Such as like vape pens to smoke at the table and like rubber duckies to throw at people. It's pretty funny. But yeah, that one I've had a consistent good time just playing with friends. It's kind of one of those games that you can like sort of turn your brain off and socialize more so than pay attention to like whatever the game's actually doing.
Next up, we have a few games where if you're looking to play with other people, but you really want a hardcore game that you can dig your teeth into and get really good at competitively, we've got a couple options for you. The first one we talk about all the time. We love it. It's also free, so absolutely try it out. Echo VR. This is Echo Arena and Echo Combat, although Echo Combat is a paid add-on. But Echo Arena is a fantastic game. If you're prone to motion sickness, it might be a little bit of an issue because you're moving freely through this space. But otherwise, there's a lot of reasons to try it. It's really fun just as a sport. It's 0G. Think about like Ender's Game plus sort of Frisbee or rugby, in space. You are playing 3v3 or 4v4 and you have a disc and you're trying to get it through a goal on the other end of an arena. But you can also grab onto the opponents. You can punch them in the head to knock them out for a little bit of a time. You can boost around. It's really, really fun when you get into a good match where you're matched skills with people. It's just a blast.
And it's definitely one of those games where you kind of go like, oh, one more match like wouldn't hurt when you're on a good run.
Yeah. So if you're looking to play with friends or just try out something really unique and really well done, download Echo VR. It's free.
So our next game on this list is a paid game. It is called Blaston. It is a 1v1 shooter dodgeball hybrid. So two gladiators enter the arena. They're raised on pedestals, and then guns spawn around each gladiator, around their hips, sort of, in front of them and to their sides. And so you each grab guns, and you have a limited amount of ammo, and when you fire shots, they're like slow-moving projectiles that you then have to sort of dodge bullet hell style as like they come in towards you. And it's something I slept on for a little bit, but then turned out to be like a great workout game. Like, I play 2 matches of that, and I'm already like panting and starting to sweat a bit. If I play like probably like 20 minutes, I'm like soaking in sweat. But it is so fun and keeps you very engaged like every match. And also each match is very bite-sized. Like I would say like less than 5 minutes per match. That's also regularly being updated by the developers, and they're very active in their Discord. So recommend if you like a very frantic shooter game that also gets regularly updated.
So this next one is probably pretty high up on the most played apps list, but Carlos really wants to rep it anyways.
For good reason. Population 1 Battle Royale. It sounds so like, I don't know. It sounds so like mainstream. Why would you back it? But it plays really well. It's something that I go back to, that I have actually been itching to go back to since I have been in a period of my life where I couldn't really VR online all that much. So I'm excited to like play it. It's being regularly updated. But like, funny enough, like the map in Population 1 gets more updates than like the map in like Warzone. But yeah, that's one that it also introduces battle passes to VR and some other stuff that I'm just like, from an academic sense, finding interesting to view. But from a gameplay standpoint, this is awesome. You guys should pick it up. If you like shooters, this is going to be one that you can really get down with friends. All squad up, 3-person squads, jump in, become the last of the population.
If multiplayer games aren't your speed, we wanted to round out this episode with a pretty substantial list of action-focused games. Some of these have a story, some of them are more the kind where you just replay sessions, but all of these are really good and I think appeal to a wide variety of players. So the first 2 are games that we talk about quite a bit, Pistol Whip and Until You Fall. We did an episode on Until You Fall, so I guess we'll just talk about Pistol Whip.
Yeah, Pistol Whip, both these games are great choices. Please give a listen or watch our Until You Fall episode to find out why we love that one. That one is a first-person sword combat roguelike game. That's all I'll say about it. Pistol Whip is a first-person shooter, kind of similar to Beat Saber. There's like a music rhythm element to it, and you're being kind of slowly pulled along a track, but it is more of like a rhythm shooter shooting gallery type thing, mixed with maybe a little bit of Time Crisis because the bullets are like coming at you. But very fun game, very reminiscent of like the John Wick like nightclub scene as like the core gameplay loop, and it's also a game that gets regularly updated. One of the most recent updates has been 2089, which is a 5-level story focused campaign, quote unquote story focused, meaning it actually has these like comic booky cutscenes at like the start of each level, whereas in vanilla Pistol Whip, you just jump into a level and you're playing. There's no story premise or anything like that. The new 2089 also introduces some new enemies and 1 or 2 new mechanics. So definitely worth checking out. It has gotten a lot of content since launch.
Yeah, definitely those 2, Pistol Whip and Until You Fall, are 100% worth picking up, pretty much regardless of what you like.
Worth checking out if you are into VR, I would say. So moving on to our next game, we have another game that we actually did an episode on, Phantom Covert Ops. This is a first-person stealth action game. You're going to be primarily shooting in it and also paddling your kayak through a sunken Russian military base. There's definitely a lot of like story focus in this game, and we go into why we like it so much in our Phantom episode, so go give that a listen.
The next one is an oldie but a goodie, Robo Recall. It's one of the first games that really hit the mainstream and was like a serious game in VR, but it uses all the aspects of VR really well. In it, you are progressing through a level, you have a set of guns, and you're recalling faulty robots that are terrorizing the population. Everything about it screams fun action in a sort of over-the-top way. You know, you can reload guns by throwing them and hitting enemies on the head, and the guns bounce back to you. You can grab enemies and chuck them across the map or rip them limb from limb.
You can grab bullets out of the air and throw it back at robots.
And it holds up, I would say, pretty well on the Quest port. The graphics aren't super terrible.
Yeah, and really what you're looking for, I think right now in VR, is gameplay. I mean, that might just be me, but a lot of what you're going to be doing, I think, is going to be like gameplay focused, unless you want your headset to be more entertainment. Okay, so moving on, we have another action title having to do with killer robots, Sairento VR. It's a first-person action shooter game with melee combat. Sort of think Ghost in the Shell, kind of, but you're also a ninja. So you are sliding, flipping, jumping, wall running, all through futuristic cyberpunk environments. Meanwhile, there's a plethora of robot enemies chasing after you. You don't grab bullets out of the air in this one. Instead, you use katanas, machine guns, shotguns, and all manner of acrobatics to dispatch your enemies. So this one is definitely worth picking up if you have gotten your VR legs, meaning your motion sickness tolerance is like built up. This is great to help push those limits and also give you that badass feel of being the one action hero to rule them all.
If you want to be a wall running ninja, this is one to look out for.
So our next game is a puzzle game that really focuses on interacting with your environment in order to save cute robots this time. Robots are trying to kill you, and you're trying to save them. This game is called Time Stall. You play as a robot time agent person who could like freeze time for X amount of seconds in order to avert disaster from happening. But you are on a interplanetary cruise ship with a robot captain. You have a robot captain who kind of sounds like Jerry, the dad from Rick and Morty, but I don't think that's actually him. But anyway, he's sort of clumsy like Jerry in that whenever the captain's around in a room, some accident happens, the robot serpents around go killer, and then time freezes or stalls, and you are given about 60 seconds to 2 minutes, however long, to manipulate objects in the environment. It's almost like being Quicksilver in those X-Men prequel movies, where he's like running around the rooms and like making sure none of the X-Men get like killed. Anyway, fun game, worth checking out, especially if you like puzzle games and like touching things in the environment. This is a good one for you. And the last game on our sort of action story focus group is Gun Club VR. This is a very, I would say, well put together and surprisingly content-filled shooting gallery arcade game. The environments functionally serve what they need to serve. They do multiple spins on the environments that I think make good use of VR. So like you'll be in a sort of warehouse shooting gallery for one challenge. They'll let you do that same area a couple levels, and then they'll turn the lights out, and you'll buy like a flashlight attachment. And now wherever you point your gun in VR, that's actually where your flashlight is. And then doing different spins on the shooting gallery modes from like circular targets to like circular targets on Ferris wheels to having the human targets, and then later on you find out there's a zombies mode, so the human targets actually look like zombies and they move around like zombies and have a health bar as opposed to just like dropping when you shoot them. So yeah, lots of cool stuff to find within that. Many guns, fun reloads that feel more simish. So yeah, check that out if you like the shooter genre.
To round out the episode, I wanted to highlight a couple of games that I've really enjoyed playing, although I haven't played them on the Quest, and so I can't give them a 100% endorsement because sometimes games really lose a lot when they get ported. But if you're looking to branch out, and especially you want a game with a story, linear narrative, something to sink your teeth into, these are some things to try out. Red Matter is a sci-fi narrative game with puzzle solving. We're moving through a futuristic Russian facility on a moon of Saturn, I think, and there's like crazy alien stuff, and it's pretty cool, very atmospheric. The Room VR, based on the mobile games, the Room games, puzzle solving, sort of imagine like Myst or one of those style of games where you're moving around a space and trying to solve environmental puzzles. The Room has a couple of really interesting mechanics that play with different aspects of VR. So that one's great. And then if you're looking for something a little more sit down and just play with your controllers type gameplay, there's Moss, which is highly acclaimed. You're controlling this little mouse character and moving through this storybook world as like a almost like Redwall type guy. And then Trover Saves the Universe, which is sort of based around Justin Roiland style humor. He voices all the characters, or most of the characters, and you're a guy that sits in a chair. You're a chairperson, chairorpian, and you're controlling Trover, and you're moving around levels, and it's just like a wild ride in terms of moving through this like cartoony, almost Rick and Morty style universe adventure.
Yeah, I personally played through and beat Trover on Quest, and I haven't played it on PC, but as a Quest game, I felt like it was good. Definitely, I would recommend a playthrough of it. But again, yeah, because it's more of like a sit-down third-person thing, I wasn't sure how strongly I'd recommend it, because at least for now, I feel like the ones that utilize the body more, which Moss, I think, utilizes you as like a spirit being. You can like grab pieces of the environment, and I think you can also like touch the mouse's sword and or enemies to affect them in certain ways during combat. So that type of stuff, definitely recommend Moss. Me personally, I would recommend Moss a little bit more than Trover, but both are real good games in their own right. Trover being a good comedy game, and Moss being like real good from a gameplay and like storybook standpoint.
All right, so I hope that as you were listening to that, you heard at least one thing that piqued your interest, something that you wanted to try out, hopefully a number of things. I'll leave you with a short list of things that if you're not really sure what you want to try out, these are things you should definitely look into. I would say Racket NX, Dance Central, Echo Arena, Pistol Whip, Until You Fall. Do you want to add anything to that, Carlos?
I would add in Gun Club VR. That's just really good shooter. I think outside of that, no, that's probably it. In terms of like just like starting off, that list is great. Just add in that Gun Club VR.
So there you go. If you got a Quest, or you've played a little bit of VR and you've played some Beat Saber and you don't really know what to get into next or what's out there, this is sort of our definitive list of what's amazing, what you can get into with no reservations about maybe it'll be bad. These are approved good things to try out from Head-Mounted Destinations.
If you liked this episode and want to hear more, please visit headmountedpodcast.com and sign up for our email list to get notified about new episodes.
And you can find the show on YouTube or any of those platforms where you find podcasts like Spotify, Stitcher, etc.
If you'd like to discuss this episode or suggest future topics, visit our subreddit at reddit.com/r/head-mounted-podcast.
If you're looking to show us a little extra love because you really, really like this podcast, you can follow us on social media, Twitter @MountedHead, Facebook @HeadMountedPodcast, share our stuff, and most importantly, word of mouth, tell your friends about us.
Share us everywhere, and for doing this and listening to our episode, we thank you. Thank you, dear listener. We'll see you next time at another head-mounted destination.